There is no escape. Their laughter echoes through the ruins, metallic, cruel, and full of madness. You can feel them before you see them. The air thickens, the walls bleed, and every shadow whispers your name. Once, you prayed for the Emperor's light. Now you pray they end it quickly. Because when Chaos Space Marines hunt you, death isn't the worst thing they bring. There are many horrors in the galaxy. Xenos that flay the flesh, demons that devour the spirit, and tyrants that grind entire worlds into dust. But nothing is as terrifying as chaos. Chaos doesn't just kill you. It changes you. It whispers into your dreams, wears your doubts like armor, and feeds on everything you try to hide, your fear, your guilt, your buried sins. The Imperium teaches that chaos is an infection, a corruption born from the warp, that realm of madness where the souls of the dead and the dreams of the living are one. But that is only half the truth. Chaos is not something that happens to you. It's something that comes from you. Every act of rage, every moment of envy, every prayer said without faith, all of it bleeds into the warp, feeding the gods that rule it. That's what makes chaos horror so perfect and so inescapable. You cannot run from what's inside you. When the Chaos Space Marines come, they don't come merely to kill. They come to reveal what you really are. Their armor is forged in hatred. Their flesh is bound with madness. Their souls are long since claimed by demons. Once, they were noble, the Emperor's angels of death. Now they are nightmares given form. They do not march for conquest or for glory. They hunt for souls that you can hear them long before you see them. The low growl of corrupted bolters, the heavy footsteps that shake the ground like thunder, the smell of ozone and burnt flesh. And somewhere between those sounds, a laugh, human but twisted, mocking the very concept of humanity. The first time you see them, you think they're monsters. But the longer you stare, the more you realize the horror. They were once men. Men who prayed as you do, who fought for the same emperor you still call upon in your terror. And if they could fall, what hope do you have? Chaos is patient. It doesn't need to tear your body apart, not at first. It will let you run. It will let you hide. It will let you believe, for a while, that you might survive. But all the while, its presence grows, in your thoughts, in your heartbeat, in the way shadows start to move when you aren't looking. You'll begin to hear whispers, promises of safety, of vengeance, of power. And as your mind breaks, those whispers become a song you can't stop humming, a song that feels like truth. And when you finally fall to your knees, begging the Emperor for salvation, you'll understand the final, cruel lesson of chaos horror. The Emperor's light cannot reach where your faith has already died. The Chaos Space Marines don't need to kill you. They'll let you destroy yourself. They'll let you become what they are, a reflection of the galaxy's madness. In your final moments, as your blood cools and your mind unravels, you'll see them watching you, not with hatred, but with amusement. Because to them, this isn't murder. It's conversion. And in that last heartbeat, you'll feel the warp stir inside you, a spark of something ancient, waiting to be born from your pain. That's the true horror of chaos. It's not the monsters that come from the dark. It's that the dark was always inside you. In the far reaches of the Imperium, fear is the most honest companion a human can have. It whispers in the corridors of hive cities, drifts over battlefields, and seeps into the hearts of soldiers, citizens and priests alike. Fear is the final candle in the dark, flickering weakly against the overwhelming void of war, chaos, and suffering. It is the only certainty in a galaxy of uncertainty, the only truth that endures when hope has been stripped away. Even the bravest soldiers feel it gnaw at their nerves, an ever-present shadow reminding them that death and madness are never far behind. On the battlefields of forgotten worlds, fear manifests in every aspect of survival. Soldiers march through smoke-filled streets, guns trembling in their hands, hearts pounding as unseen enemies strike from the shadows. The walls of the city seem to close in, whispers of the warp curling around every corner, and the distant, echoing screams of comrades pierce the haze of gunfire. Fear sharpens senses, hones instincts, and forces the mind to focus, yet it also corrodes resolve. Each step forward is a battle not only against the enemy, but against the realization that death could come at any moment, sudden, violent, and indiscriminate. Within the cathedrals and temples of the Imperium, fear takes on a subtler, more insidious form. Priests preach devotion while their eyes betray the terror that grips them, the quiet knowledge that faith alone cannot protect them from the horrors lurking beyond the sanctified walls. Candles flicker, casting monstrous shadows across cracked marble floors, and the faithful kneel, trembling as the machinery of the Imperium grinds on. Fear becomes ritual, a constant reminder that obedience is the only shield against the chaos that waits just beyond the Emperor's distant gaze. It is not only a personal torment, it is a societal force, shaping the actions, decisions, and very lives of millions. Even the Emperor's angels, the Space Marines, are not immune to this darkness. Fear is not absence in them, but a recognition of stakes far greater than personal survival. When they step onto a battlefield of unimaginable destruction, when the stench of burned flesh and the cries of the dying fill the air, fear guides their hand and focuses their mind. It reminds them that every action has consequence, every hesitation could mean death for thousands, and that even the mightiest warriors are ultimately servants of a silent God. Fear sharpens their purpose, yet it also serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, even for those seemingly beyond its reach. And yet, fear is not entirely a weakness. It is the ember that survives the darkness, the candle that refuses to be extinguished despite the overwhelming void. It is what drives humanity forward, what forces soldiers to continue, priests to pray, and citizens to endure. The final candle in the dark is fragile, yes, but it is also enduring. It illuminates the path when the Imperium itself offers no guidance, reminding all who dwell under the Emperor's distant gaze that survival, though terrifying, is still possible. Fear is humanity's cruel companion, yet it is also its fiercest motivator, ensuring that even in the depths of despair, some light, however dim, persists. In the Imperium, fear is both curse and sustenance. It reminds the living of the fragility of their existence, the ever-present threat of chaos, heresy, and death. But it also fuels courage, loyalty, and resilience, forging those who endure into sharper, stronger versions of themselves. The final candle in the dark may flicker and falter, but it does not die. In a galaxy of endless suffering, humanity survives, carried forward by the awareness of its own vulnerability, the haunting whisper of mortality, and the unyielding, indomitable spark of fear that refuses to be snuffed out. They call it the Age of the Imperium, an empire of light spanning the stars. But if you travel far enough, past the gilded worlds and the endless sermons, you'll see the truth. That light isn't spreading anymore. It's fading. The Imperium claims to be the last bastion of hope, the Emperor's light guarding mankind from the abyss. But when you stand beneath that light for too long, you start to see the cracks. The light is harsh, unforgiving. It burns away not just corruption, but compassion. It does not guide, it blinds. And beyond it, the Warhammer darkness waits. It isn't an empty void. It lives, it watches. It whispers through the ruins of worlds, and in the minds of the faithful. It has seen every empire rise and rot. It does not rage, it does not roar, it waits. This is not the kind of darkness you can flee from. It's the kind that hides inside you. The kind that grows behind every act of devotion, every commandment obeyed without question, every prayer whispered through clenched teeth. It's the darkness that comes when faith becomes a weapon. The Imperium says it fights the shadows of chaos, that beyond the veil lies only madness and corruption. But look closer at the Imperium itself. Its people live in misery, its priests drown in greed, and its armies kill in the name of purity. How different are they from the monsters they claim to fight? Everywhere you go, you see the same story. Cathedrals built from the bones of workers. Children raised to worship war. Planets burning in the name of salvation. That is the light of the Imperium, a fire so bright it consumes its own believers. In this universe, there's no dawn. Only varying shades of night. There are worlds where the sun hasn't risen in centuries, buried under smog and ruin. There, the people no longer look up. They have forgotten what stars even are. They live by the glow of industry and the dim flicker of faith, whispering hymns to a God who never answers. But they still believe. Because believing is all they have left. That's the cruelest part of the Warhammer darkness. It doesn't take your hope away. It lets you keep it, twisted and broken, until it hurts to hold. Even the mighty Astartes, the Emperor's angels of death, walk with that same darkness in their hearts. They fight not because they love humanity, but because they can't remember what else to do. They are eternal soldiers in a war that never ends, killing for a God who cannot hear them. Each battle won is another piece of their soul lost. And still, they fight, because in this galaxy, duty is stronger than love. Faith is stronger than truth. And obedience is stronger than mercy. The ecclesiarchy preaches that darkness is heresy, that light is purity. But light without warmth is not salvation. It's torture. And the Emperor's light burns brightest where the guilt runs deepest. Look at the Inquisition, humanity's so-called protectors. They hunt the shadow, yes, but they also become it. They burn worlds to save them. They kill millions to preserve the illusion of purity. Each act meant to preserve the light only deepens the dark. And perhaps that is the greatest horror of all. The Imperium does not need chaos to fall. It is becoming chaos, one decree, one purge, one lost soul at a time. But the darkness, it doesn't judge. It doesn't command. It simply waits for man to destroy himself. In the stillness of a ruined battlefield, when the guns go silent and the air turns to ash, you can feel it. It's not loud. It's not violent. It's inevitable. The light flickers. The hymns fade. And all that remains is the hum of broken machines and the echo of prayers that were never heard. That is the Warhammer darkness. It is the truth behind the Emperor's gold. It is the silence after the faith. It is the peace that comes when there's nothing left to save. It doesn't come to destroy the light. It simply waits for the light to burn itself out. Because in the grim darkness of the far future, there are no heroes left. Only ghosts, still marching through the shadows, pretending they can see. In the Imperium of man, survival is not a gift. It is a punishment, a cruel reminder that mercy died long ago. They say life is sacred, that every breath is a service to the Emperor. But those who live within his empire know better. To survive here is to carry pain like a burden, to wake each day wondering why the stars still burn. Every moment in the Imperium costs something. A prayer, a life, a piece of sanity. You breathe the ash of the dead and whisper faith through cracked lips. And still, you keep going, because stopping means death, and death is forbidden unless it serves the throne. The guardsman in the trenches no longer dreams of victory. He dreams of silence. He prays not for triumph, but for one night without screams, without the smell of blood. He fights because there is nothing else left to do. He survives because he cannot remember how to die. On hive worlds, billions toil beneath choking skies. Factories thunder without end. Children grow up in shadows and die before their names are remembered. Survival here means obedience, working, bleeding, praying, until the body gives out and another takes your place. No glory, no gratitude. Just the endless grind of a machine that calls itself holy. The priests preach that endurance is faith, that pain is devotion. But there is no holiness in this kind of living. Only exhaustion, only fear. People survive not because they hope, but because hope itself has become forbidden. Even the mighty are not free. Space Marines, the Emperor's angels of death, endure eternal war. They cannot rest, cannot die, cannot feel. Each battle leaves another scar that will never heal. Their reward for survival is more killing, more centuries of unending duty. The Inquisitors live through paranoia. They burn, purge, and kill in the name of purity, but their souls rot in silence. The longer they survive, the less they remain human. They become the very darkness they claim to fight, and beyond the worlds of men, in the cold void between stars, ancient ships drift endlessly. Crews forget who they are, where they're going. They pray to the machines, whisper to the void, and mark time by the flicker of dying lights. Their survival isn't living, it's waiting for death to remember them. The Imperium endures not through strength, but through suffering. Worlds burn, empires fall, and still the machine grinds on. Each life, each prayer, each screen is fuel. And so, mankind keeps surviving, not out of will, but because the galaxy refuses to let it stop. To survive here is to lose yourself. You give your body to labor, your mind to fear, your soul to faith. You trade everything that makes you human just to exist one more day. And when death finally comes, it feels like freedom. There's no heroism in survival. No reward for endurance. Only the slow decay of those who have seen too much, suffered too long, and still breathe because they have forgotten how not to. They say the Emperor watches all. But if he truly sees what his people have become, then his silence is the loudest cruelty in the universe, because in this galaxy, the dead are not mourned. The dying are not saved. And the living, they are the ones who truly suffer. To live in the 41st millennium is to be trapped between faith and despair. To endure when everything around you screams to give up. To carry the nightmare forward, because that is all mankind knows how to do, and that is the horror of survival. Not that it ends, but that it never does. In the Imperium of man, corruption begins not with fire or blade, but with a whisper. It starts in the mind of a faithful believer, a small compromise made in the name of devotion. A priest who bends scripture to save a soul. A governor who sacrifices a city to preserve order. A soldier who follows orders without question, killing the innocent because obedience feels holy. Each act seems righteous, even necessary, until the line between devotion and blasphemy dissolves. Slowly, quietly, the soul begins to twist. And the very faith meant to protect humanity becomes the instrument of its decay. Heresy is not always born from chaos. Often, it emerges from too much loyalty, too much zeal. A man who prays louder, purges harder, and kills faster does so thinking it honors the Emperor, not realizing that every act of fanaticism gnaws at his humanity. Mercy becomes weakness. Compassion becomes a sin. What was once reverence transforms into obsession, devotion into cruelty. And in that shadow, corruption grows. By the time it is noticed, it has spread through the heart of the faithful, infecting both the pious and the powerful alike. The Imperium itself is a machine built on rot, though it is cloaked in gold and flame. The ecclesiarchy preaches unity while thriving on fear. The Inquisition hunts for truth while crushing any who speak it. And the Adeptus Mechanicus hoards forbidden knowledge in the name of the Omnissiah. Each act of purity leaves a scar. Each sanctioned murder deepens the darkness. Even the Emperor's light, distant and silent, cannot cleanse the rot within. The galaxy is littered with worlds where devotion has decayed into ritualized horror, where saints are carved from the bones of the condemned, and where the faithful burn themselves for hope they no longer feel. Heresy is most terrifying when it hides behind devotion. Cults rise openly in some sectors, yet elsewhere chaos masquerades as loyalty, bending prayers into spells and relics into instruments of the warp. The rot does not need blood to spread. It moves through belief itself. Soldiers kill thinking they serve the throne. Priests punish thinking they serve the emperor. And entire populations obey rituals whose meaning has long since died. Corruption in the Imperium is not external. It is a mirror, a reflection of what humanity has become when faith is turned into a weapon, and survival demands obedience above all else. And yet, the Imperium endures. Its people kneel, they pray, they obey, because to stop would be to invite death. Each act of cruelty, each compromise, each act of blind devotion reinforces the cycle of decay. The rot is no longer a threat. It is tradition. Without it, the empire would falter. And in that grim reflection, the faithful see themselves, not monsters, not demons, but living proof that heresy is not an enemy to fight, but the inevitable shadow cast by mankind's own faith. In the Imperium, corruption is not an exception. It is the foundation of survival, the cost of devotion, and the grim truth that the galaxy itself is built on the decay of souls. The galaxy shudders beneath the endless weight of war, yet the Imperium endures, a colossal machine of blood, steel, and faith. Billions of souls march, fight, pray, and die, each convinced of their purpose, yet haunted by the silence of the Emperor. His gaze, eternal yet unreachable, illuminates nothing but shadows. In this void, the final reckoning emerges, not through the clash of titanic armies alone, but in the hearts and minds of all who serve. Every soldier, priest, and citizen feels it, the terrifying question of what remains when devotion, obedience, and survival are tested to their limits. Across countless worlds, the signs are unmistakable. Hive cities smolder, devotion turned fanaticism igniting fires that consume both innocent and guilty alike. Planets once loyal erupt in rebellion, and secret cults flourish in the darkness left by unanswered prayers. The faithful, hardened by centuries of famine, plague, and unending war, begin to question the God they have worshipped. Obedience feels hollow, victory meaningless, and yet the machinery of survival compels them forward. Humanity, trapped within its own empire, continues marching even as its soul frays beneath the weight of endless suffering. The Adeptus Astartes, emperor's angels of death, feel the same oppressive void. They fight with tireless zeal, yet each victory is hollow, each conquest a temporary reprieve from the emptiness that follows. They witness atrocities committed in the name of purity, priests burning innocents, governors sacrificing entire cities, soldiers executing their own in obedience to rituals long stripped of meaning. Lines between savior and executioner blur. The final reckoning is not merely a battlefield, it is a confrontation within every heart. A test of morality in a galaxy that has long abandoned mercy. The Inquisition hunts tirelessly, rooting out whispers of heresy and corruption, yet its purges only deepen the shadows. Fear spreads like wildfire, and those once devoted now question their faith. Some turn to chaos, others to despair, and the Imperium fractures from within. The rot is not external. It is systemic, embedded in doctrine, bureaucracy, and tradition. Even as entire worlds burn, even as the cries of the faithful reach unanswered, the Emperor's silence persists, a constant reminder that no guidance, no mercy, and no reassurance will ever arrive. The reckoning is absolute and inescapable. On the battlefield and within the hives, humanity's struggle mirrors the galaxy itself. Planets become storm-swept graves. Armies clash under skies ablaze with artillery and firestorms. Each victory is Pyrrhic, each defeat catastrophic. Soldiers fight their enemies, yet simultaneously battle the erosion of their own loyalty and morality. In the hives, citizens face psychological warfare as devotion and despair intertwine. Prophets, false priests, and opportunists manipulate fear, twisting belief into fanaticism. Survival becomes moral compromise. Children inherit obligation, not hope. The weak become tools. The masses endure suffering as the price of existence. The final reckoning is everywhere, from the highest spire to the deepest underhive. And yet, the Imperium persists. Its survival is testament not to divine guidance, but to the endurance of humanity itself. Billions continue to kneel, march, fight, and die under the silent gaze of the Emperor, their resilience forged in suffering. The scars of this reckoning, psychological, spiritual, and moral, remain, but they do not break the machine of mankind. Humanity endures, forever haunted by unanswered prayers, aware that faith, survival, and devotion have become inseparable from horror. The final reckoning is never complete. It is a perpetual trial under the Emperor's unyielding, silent gaze, shaping a galaxy where survival is sacred and mercy is a memory long forgotten. In the endless void of the 41st millennium, humanity walks a knife's edge between survival and annihilation. The Imperium stands as both savior and jailer, a vast empire of steel and faith, but its true enemy is not the aliens or the traitors. It is the darkness that resides within mankind itself. For every soul that kneels before the Golden Emperor, another trembles with doubt, fear, or the whispering lure of chaos. The abyss is not a place but a state of being. It is the recognition that in a galaxy defined by war, suffering, and obedience, humanity is often its own worst tormentor. The final battle is not waged with bolters or blades, it is waged in the hearts of men dot across 1,000 worlds. The signs of decay are evident. Hive cities, once bustling with life, now suffocate under corruption, despair, and fanaticism. Citizens kneel at altars, believing suffering is holy, while false prophets and cultists manipulate their devotion for power. Every act of obedience reinforces the machinery of control. Every sacrifice hardens the chains that bind the people to a silent emperor. And in these streets, alleys, and factories, the abyss deepens. The line between loyalty and heresy blurs, until survival itself becomes a compromise of morality. Humanity fights not only external enemies, but the shadows of its own making. The soldiers of the Imperium are the front line of this internal war. Space Marines and Imperial Guard alike march into battles that test not only their courage but their conscience. They witness atrocities committed in the name of purity and devotion. Children sacrificed to appease the machine god. Entire populations raised for minor infractions. Comrades executed for perceived weakness. Each act of violence becomes a reflection of the Imperium's rot, and each victory is a hollow echo, a temporary reprieve from the creeping horror that gnaws at their souls. Even the mightiest warriors begin to question their purpose when the god they serve is silent. Absent and unyielding, inquisitors traverse the shadows, hunting heresy and corruption with a cold, calculating efficiency. Yet even their zeal cannot halt the spread of human darkness. Fear breeds rebellion, despair breeds fanaticism, and doubt festers into chaos. Those who once believed wholeheartedly in the Emperor's divine plan now stand at the precipice of moral collapse, torn between obedience and survival. The final confrontation, then, is as much internal as it is external. The abyss is within, and every decision carries the weight of entire worlds. Each choice, a reflection of the fragile humanity, teetering between faith and madness. Even the Adeptus Mechanicus feels the tremors of this decay. The sacred rites and rituals that maintain the engines of the Imperium falter under the weight of neglect and heresy. Machines that have operated for millennia hum with uncertainty, their logic corrupted by human frailty. The tech priests debate endlessly over doctrine while the galaxy burns, their faith in the machine god mirrored by the failing hearts of men. The abyss is systemic. It seeps into the gears, wires, and circuits of the Imperium, reminding all who witness it that no knowledge, no ritual, and no obedience can fully protect humanity from itself. And yet, the Imperium endures. Its survival is proof not of divine favor, but of the resilience forged in suffering. Billions of souls continue to kneel, march, fight, and die, even as despair and corruption gnaw at their minds. The abyss may be vast, terrifying, and eternal, but humanity persists. Each scar, each loss, each compromise is a testament to endurance. The Emperor may remain silent, chaos may whisper in the shadows, and the galaxy may bleed endlessly. But mankind survives, a species forever haunted by the darkness within, yet unwilling to surrender to it. The abyss is never defeated, but neither is humanity. In the end, the abyss of humanity is not merely a threat. It is a mirror. It reflects the consequences of centuries of war, oppression, and blind devotion. It reveals the fragility, the cruelty, and the unyielding endurance that define mankind in the 41st millennium. The final reckoning is eternal, yet within it lies a grim clarity. Survival is sacred, faith is tested, and the darkness within is a force to be confronted, not ignored. Humanity may never be pure, merciful, or innocent again, but it endures, rising from the ashes of its own abyss to continue its unending struggle under the silent, watchful gaze of the Emperor.